Ash drifts through a burned forest under a gray morning sky. The first thing visible is not the asteroid, it is what remains after it. Charred trunks stand in a pale haze, broken branches hang without leaves. The ground is dark with wet ash. In the center of the frame, a dinosaur footprint has filled with black rainwater, and each falling ash flake sends a small ripple across its surface. Near the roots of a burned tree, something small moves. It pauses, low to the ground, hardly larger than the roots around it. A mammal, like Survivor, or something close to that shape, slips through the mud and ash. It does not own this world yet, it is simply alive in a place where the giants no longer move. The morning is quiet. That quiet is the horror. The famous catastrophe was not only the instant of impact, the impact was the opening wound. The days, months, and years after it were the deeper test: fire, darkness, cooling, acid rain in places, collapsing food chains, and failing ecosystems would have turned survival into a filter. The animals that lived through the first shock still had to live through the world that followed. No one saw this exact forest. No fossil gives us a camera view of the first morning. But the broad event is strongly supported. A giant impact near the end of the Cretaceous, followed by one of the most important extinction pulses in Earth history. The local scene must be reconstructed carefully, from geology, fossils, climate clues, and ecology. The footprint holds still water. That image matters because it says what has changed. A large dinosaur made that track before the world reset. Now the track belongs to rain, ash, insects, and small shadows moving near the ground. The largest animals were in trouble first. Big bodies need food. Big bodies need space. Big bodies often need stable ecosystems around them. When plants were burned, buried, darkened, or stripped of sunlight, the animals that depended on them were hit. Then predators that depended on those animals were hit. The collapse moved through the food web. The first morning was not a clean ending. It was a beginning with very little food. A burned nest lies open beneath a fallen branch. There are no adults guarding it. The eggs, if they survive the first violence, sit in a world where warmth, food, and protection have changed. For many lineages, reproduction itself would have become fragile. Survival was not just about living through one day, it was about finding a way to continue. Under a slab of bark, insects crawl. Their movement is small, but it changes the scale of the story. A world can look dead from above while life continues under cover. Insects, larvae, worms, small reptiles, amphibians, early mammals, and birds did not all face the same odds. Some were vulnerable, some disappeared, some survived because they were small, hidden, flexible, or able to feed on what remained. The forest floor becomes the center of the planet, not the treetops, not the open plain, not the giant bodies. The safest places may have been burrows, root systems, damp soil, river margins, sheltered crevices, and decaying wood. Darkness hurts plants, but dead plants can feed decomposers. Seeds can wait, spores can spread, insects can work through the remains. Survival did not look heroic, it looked like hiding. Small animal darts from one root hollow to another. It moves only when the ashfall thins. Its nose touches wet mud. It finds something soft beneath the bark. It eats quickly, then freezes. The sky above is still gray. The landscape gives no promise that daylight will return normally. This is one reason small, flexible animals had an advantage. A creature that could eat seeds, insects, carrion, roots, or scraps had more options than one locked into a narrow food source. A creature that could shelter underground had more protection from heat, debris, cold nights, and open exposure. A creature that reproduced quickly could recover faster when conditions improved. But small did not mean safe. Many small animals died too. Many lineages vanished. The aftermath was not a reward for being tiny. It was a harsh selection of traits: shelter, diet, life cycle, habitat, and luck. The first morning did not hand Earth to mammals like a crown. It opened a long, unstable window where some survivors could persist while others could not. Above the burned forest, the sunlight is weak. Dust and soot in the atmosphere could reduce light and disrupt photosynthesis. When plants struggle, herbivores struggle. When herbivores disappear, predators lose prey. The food chain does not fall all at once everywhere, but the direction is clear. The world after the impact would have been defined by interruption. A branch collapses under its own burned weight. Ash lifts from the ground. Small bird, like shape moves through the haze. Birds are not just survivors beside dinosaurs. Birds are dinosaurs. The non-avian dinosaurs disappeared, but avian dinosaurs continued. That fact changes the emotional shape of the extinction. Dinosaurs did not vanish completely. One branch endured, feathered, small, bodied, and capable of living through conditions that eliminated their larger relatives. The next world did not begin without dinosaurs. It began without most of them. Near the waterlogged footprint, insects gather along the edge of the black pool. Tiny bodies touch ash, mud, and rotting plant matter. They are not dramatic, but they are part of the restart. Decomposition, scavenging, seed survival, and hidden food sources would have mattered when green abundance failed. The old ecosystem was broken into pieces. Some pieces burned, some drowned, some froze, some starved, some waited underground. A lizard, like survivor, slips from a crack in the roots, then vanishes again. Its movement is brief, almost accidental. That is the rhythm of the first aftermath. Not battle, not chase, not spectacle, but exposure and retreat. The open world is dangerous. The hidden world is where the future gathers. The silence also corrects a misconception. The extinction was not one giant wave that erased every dinosaur-shaped thing instantly at the same second. It was a global crisis with local differences, uneven survival windows, and ecological consequences that unfolded through time. Some places burned. Some were buried under fallout. Some faced darkness and cooling. Some food webs collapsed faster than others. The first morning is a symbol, not a timestamp. It represents the moment when impact becomes aftermath. The camera moves across the forest edge. No large footfalls shake the mud. No herd passes through the smoke. No giant shadow crosses the trees. The absence becomes visible. Space once occupied by large bodies is now empty. And that emptiness is one of the strongest images in natural history. A small mammal, like Survivor, reaches the footprint. It lowers its head to the black water, then pulls back as ash lands in the pool. The footprint is too large for it, a basin left by a world that no longer fits the animals moving through it. The survivor walks around the rim, leaving tiny marks beside the giant track. That contrast is the story, a giant print filled with ash water, tiny feet passing beside it. The old world has not vanished from the ground, but it has lost control of the future. The reset took time. Plants would return unevenly. Ferns and opportunistic growth may have marked disturbed landscapes. Food webs would rebuild from survivors, not from the world as it was before. Mammals would diversify later. Birds would continue evolving. Reptiles, amphibians, fish, insects, and many other organisms would carry pieces of life through the bottleneck. But on this morning, none of that is visible yet. Only ash, only water, only small movement under roots. The camera pulls back. The burned forest becomes a gray field of trunks. The footprint remains in the foreground, filling slowly with ash-colored rain. The small survivor slips into a root hollow and disappears from view. No giant returns to claim the track. The rain keeps falling. The next world begins quietly,